I have a new capture card coming on Monday or Tuesday, so my page will get a lot better. All of those videos were just made live streaming and have zero editing. I'm going to end up over the next 2 weeks probably redoing everything and updating it to current versions. All right, so let's talk some just high-level stuff. Some of it you may know, some of it you may think you know, and some of it you may know. Let's talk aura items first, and because Hi-Rez really fucked up the description of every single aura item in the game. So I see one viewer, I don't see a second.
You said. Give me a second.
Yeah,
I'm
no
gonna tell
problem.
my friend that I play with,
Yeah.
play like
You can invite them to the headset. You can tell them to just go to the YouTube. I don't care. What I plan on covering is or items being cooler than you think because of the shitty way they describe them, and a very easy way to keep that in mind. I'm going to explain how power, protection, and penetration interact. I'm going to cover how to figure out or what scaling means, and when you have good scaling and when you don't, and what that means in terms of emphasizing power over pen. I'll cover whether you're an auto attack god, a ability-based god, or a weird hybrid, and how you can tell for yourself rather than just listening to some idiot like me. I'll give you the clues that are there, and that'll help you understand not just my stream, but anybody's stream. And yes, I watch Duke Sloth and Emil Z and Weekend and Polar Bear Mike and tons of folks. I'm not even trying to give you guys high-level SPL strat. You can get that from pros. I'm trying to peel back the layer of the shitty descriptions that the game designers provided that perpetuate you guys and myself for a long time misunderstanding really basic things. All right. So here I'm just in the god builder for any god. It really doesn't matter. And go to item builder, and I just want to go down to aura items in utility. And you can find this for both magical and physical. All aura items have two separate areas, right? They have the icon of the thing that you're looking at and text to the right of the icon. And then below that, they have aura hyphen blah, blah, blah. What a lot of people believe is that because the blah, blah, blah section says, and let's go to one that's easier to understand, like Heartward, allied gods within X units, blah, blah, blah. They think that the upper part applies to them and the lower part applies to the allied gods, not minions, not summon pets, and all that other crap. It's half true. The description for aura items should read allied gods including yourself within X, blah, blah, blah. You always get the full benefit of everything listed. And it's not your fault that you didn't understand that. A, they forgot the text here. But more importantly, in the God Builder itself, if you look, I have 30 magic protections right now. I only got up to 75, but when we strip this away, that's misleading. I should have, I should have more. I should have the 45 that it gave me plus 20, 65. And the reason that it doesn't show that is because auras only check once you spawn from the fountain. Until you spawn from the fountain, it's not checking to see whether I'm in radius of myself. So that actually will go 20 points higher, and my MP5 will increase from the 14 to getting the additional 20 there. And you can prove this to yourself. And again, it doesn't matter. This time I'll even choose the physical god. You can prove this to yourself in any game. Doesn't matter whether you're in practice mode or the actual game. As long as you don't step off the fountain, you'll be able to sell it for full price. And this is how this next place is going to be how you get to prove to yourself and not just trust what people tell you. Don't trust what people tell you. I was very highly ranked in Guardians of Middle-earth, the MOBA on PlayStation 3. I got there because I didn't trust anybody and went and tested it for myself. So here we can see, and I just hit my options button to get the pop-up above my life bar. So here we can see that I have 15 physical, 31 magical, and if you look at the green bar, do you see how all the way to the right of the bar it says plus 7.7?
I can't tell because it's like...
Yeah, well, that's your HP 5, and right below that is the MP 5. So as that rises and falls, we'll be able to confirm those changes. So let's go to a generic aura item. So right now I have 15 physical protection. If I did the mistake putting this on, most people think I'd have 45, but I'm telling you, you're going to get the 40 plus the 15 in the aura for a total of 55 more. So I say it'll go up to 70, and my HP 5 will go from 7.7 to 32.7. There we go. There's 32.7, and sure enough, my physical protection applied and showed the full 70. So I'm not going to test this for you across the board for every aura item. I've shown you now how you can test it for yourself to know that Hawk isn't full of shit. And in case it ever changes, right? You'll be able to notice that. But the quick way that I try and tell people to remember is simply add the allied gods, comma, including yourself, comma, within the blah, 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 blah. And understand that you get everything there. That is a huge, huge, huge difference in all aura items being much better than most people think they are. Alright, so that's one thing. Now let's go back to lobby. I don't know whether you're building your items on the fly or you've set up the initial template. I should have probably just stayed in that practice mode to show you. I set up a template so that if auto builder gets turned on by mistake, it will follow the preferred path, but I manually do my items.
No, me too.
If you don't, by default, there's the standard, and then it changes for arena. So you're always able to go back and say, well, how would this stupid game build? And it's always going to be top to bottom, left to right. So it'll go boots, and then the cloak, and then the gauntlet, and then, so that's the format there. By setting up your custom, you are able to not only set that initial progress, but more importantly, this page will be available to you, and there's a lot more than the 6 items, 2 relics, and 2 consumables, which means that all your most likely alternative substitutions are available for you on one page, minimizing the time that you're spending in the store. So I would suggest that you set up the template for the gods that you use, and that your template has some consistency to it. So for me, I always say, hey, what are the 2 consumables that I'm most likely to get? What's the starter item, boots, and then I'm just going left to right, top to bottom. I have my 2 preferred relics and then my 2 alt relics. These are my substitute items for selling my starter. And why I have Rangdas on her, I have no idea. I was fucking around yesterday. And then 4 more subs. By the way, I feel that like if you watch my chalk video, you'll see that I have probably like 7+ different variants to his build. He is my most played god. I have 2,561 worshippers, so I'm halfway to my 2nd diamond. I'd show you my profile, except you can't. You know how it says screen blocked? But if you look me up on Smite Guru, you'll see that 4% of my total play is my most played god. Then it goes 3-3-3. I fill in an insane portion of my games. So it was very rare for me, for instance, in the last match, to highlight Discordia before other people had picked. That's a rarity for me. So yeah, just so that you don't need to think. You want to spend as little time. It doesn't matter whether it's a god I use a lot or a god that I use a little. And you can see here that like take hunters for instance. There are 2 hunters I don't have diamond. So I don't use Anhor and I don't use Chiron. But yeah, I love Ganesh. So we were talking a little bit about Ganesh. Let's talk about a difference in meta thoughts that I have than pros, and explain why that's true, so you can evaluate for yourself. The pros right now shifted from the importance of sovereignty to replacing it with Jade Emperor's Crown. And the reason was because some of the aura protections got decreased. But it was also just, in my mind, Sov has been pretty stable as an item since at least Season 3, if not earlier. I only started playing on Xbox right before the PlayStation beta came, and as soon as the beta came, I switched over. So I can't talk too much before that. But once they nerfed it, it had them look at this, and there are some substantive advantages to Jade Emperors. Pop quiz. A 10th level hunter with no items, how much does he shoot you for, damage-wise?
The hunter?
Yeah.
I was talking about like an auto attack? Or like,
yep. Just regular pew. I shot you with 1 shot. Any idea? I'll be amazed. These aren't things that I just knew off the top of my head. I decided to look. It's 60 points.
Like I was going to say 100.
Yeah, it's shockingly low, which is why items become important, which means that Jade Emperor's Crown, by stripping the power by 30, doesn't sound like a lot, but the truth is, it is a substantive amount of the base damage. And it is not. You figure it's more than boots if they went with Ninja Tabi. It's 10 short of Warrior Tabi. A bunch of crit items have 30 power added, with only 2 of them having 50. But in that the earlier you build it, the more weakening effect. Now, the reason I don't like it as much as I like Sovereignty for casual play, non-conquest meta, because again, the thought always has to be, whenever you watch a pro streamer, right, anybody who's playing in the SPL level or high elite level ranked play, they're playing conquest, right? And so the strategies that they have to be prepping for are the 5 phases of the game, which really I think I'm the only person who talks about the game in 5 phases. Most talk early, mid, late. I actually think that there's a phase before the early game, and that's the first 2 minutes of the game, which I'll call first blood period, right? Where one fucking stupid mistake, one slight delay in repositioning yourself will give up first blood, but that can turn into a 1 level advantage, which will then start the snowball and get you 2 levels. If they rush Jade Emperor's Crown, they can get this within 2.5 minutes, easy. And now they're much weaker. The reason I don't like it is it's only enemy gods. Whereas if we look at sovereignty, it's all physical protection. I don't care whether it's the the enemy tower, the enemy minion, the enemy jungle buff, or the enemy god. Plus, its range is different. So, as you're debating between, the meta from 2 months ago versus the meta now, just think about how often am I going to be in a team fight? Am I worried about the minions or not? Blah, blah, blah. Power versus pen. I'm just going to send a screenshot. Ooh, you guys are out of the headset. Crap. How am I going to share this screenshot? Later this week, I will have a video posted about power, pen, and protections. The thing to take away from this video that I'm sharing right now is excuse me. It's easiest to describe with mages. So I'm using my L2 button to toggle the level all the way down to first to show you that all mages, doesn't matter which one I pick, start with 30 magic protection, and then as they go up level, that number never gets higher. At 25 magical protections, you're only dealing 80% of the damage. So if somebody's ability says that it hits for 100 magical damage, at first level they're actually hitting me for less than 80 points. Because I've mitigated 20% of it because my protections were 25 or greater. For that reason, penetration on your boots becomes very, very important. The 10 points of penetration here is the equivalent of having 33.3% penetration. Every other class besides a mage doesn't have 30 protections to start. They have 31, and they all scale as they grow level. So early pen, super important. The faster that you can get to 30 pen, the faster you're hitting for true damage. That right there hits a mage for true damage unless they've built additional magical protections. And I think we all know how often we see mages in casuals build magical protection, and if they do, they're doing it late, which means at least now I'm hitting for true damage. You want to be real sassy. Let's talk starter items. Go into Sands of Time, then go into your boots, and then pick up if you're a burst mage, Spear of Deso, unless there's a healer. And by healer, I also mean anybody. Well, first off, all of the items that are anti-heal, whether we're talking Pestilence, Divine Ruin, Brawler's Beatstick, etc., so forth. When they say healing and regeneration, they also mean lifesteal. They mean when you take a green potion or use the health chalice. They mean if you have an ability, if you're using meditation. It's it's pretty much across the board. The one weird exception that I can think of off the top of my head is Kronos. When he uses his ult rewind, he's not regenning. He is resetting to where his health was beforehand. But failing that, if you're dot mage, i.e., damage over time, or a tick mage, I guess I've heard some people use, like Anubis, for instance, then go Spear of Magus. But otherwise, early Spear of Deso, this as a start gives me 50% of the total cooldown that I can have in the game and 30 penetration, which if I had this around level 10, enemies have about 40 magical protection unless they are a mage. So there's a little blurb on pen. The other pen item that is always good late, Obsidian Shard, but garbage early, because again, people start at 30, 31, depending on who they are, and get up to 48 at 20th level if we're talking a non-mage. It's designed to punch through people building magical protection. Things and objectives being Gold Fury, Apotheosis, Fire Giant, the Titan, structures such as towers and minions. That kind of stuff has inherent protections, so stripping those down by percentage is good. But early flat pen is good. Percentage pen later and or to overcome tanky objects. I don't know about you, but when I'm a mage, I'm not targeting tanks. All right, looks like you guys left, so I'll end this here. I hope it was helpful to you in some way, shape, or form.